The desert heat shimmered across the runway, bending the horizon into a wavering mirage as Captain Riley Stroud stepped toward the AH-64 attack helicopter. The sharp smell of fuel, oil, and sun-baked metal filled the air, familiar, grounding, almost comforting. She rolled her shoulders beneath the weight of her flight suit, feeling the stretch of fabric across her back, the open seam exposing the tattoo she had gotten in secret just before her last deployment. Most people didn't notice it, but those who did usually stared a little too long. Riley didn't care. She didn't get tattoos for anyone else. What mattered now was what sat in front of her, her bird, the machine she trusted more than most people she'd ever met. A long belt of 30mm rounds clinked softly as she lifted it, feeding each heavy cartridge carefully into the side compartment. The chain rattled like metallic snakeskin as she guided it into place. This was work she could do half asleep, yet she still checked each link with precision. Complacency got pilots killed. Mistakes got crew members buried. Everything looking good, Captain. A voice called behind her. Riley didn't turn immediately. She recognized that tone. Light teasing, a shade too confident. Lieutenant Mark Rayner, new to the unit, too clean, too polished, too sure of himself. She kept her eyes on the ammo belt as she answered. "It'll look good when it's done," she said. Mark stepped closer, clipboard in hand, glancing over the helicopter as if he'd personally built it. "Just making sure the pre-flight checklist is accurate. Wouldn't want command thinking our star pilot skipped steps." Riley smirked and finally looked over her shoulder. "Relax, Lieutenant. They already think I'm a problem." He blinked, unsure if she was joking. She wasn't, but he didn't need to know that. Behind him, two ground crew members in bulky gear were arguing over a parts manifest. One pointed at an open crate, the other shook his head violently. Typical. Supplies always arrived either mislabeled, half, missing, or both. Riley tugged the last segment of ammo into place and brushed a bit of sand from the panel. The desert got into everything: engines, rifles, teeth, souls. She'd seen soldiers break faster out here than in any combat zone. The text said they updated the targeting sensors. Mark said, flipping a page, should give you tighter lock on during low elevation runs. Tighter than last week. Riley arched a brow. Good. The last set was drifting almost 2 degrees. Mark whistled. "And you still hit the targets." Riley didn't answer. She simply closed the compartment with a satisfying metallic click, wiped her gloves on her thighs, and stepped back to admire the machine. The helicopter looked predatory, crouched, hungry for the sky. Mark cleared his throat. "If you don't mind me asking, how'd you get so good at this?" The question wasn't arrogant or flirtatious, just honest. Riley almost appreciated that. She shrugged. "You don't get good. You get scared, and then you learn not to let the fear win." Mark nodded slowly as if absorbing it, but he didn't understand, not yet. A gust of wind swept across the runway, kicking up sand and fluttering the loose end of Riley's unzipped back seam. Mark noticed and politely looked away. Good. At least he had some manners. Riley moved to the cockpit ladder, gripping the metal rung and pulling herself halfway up. From here, the world looked different. Bigger, harsher, full of invisible lines and unspoken threats. She tightened her ponytail as the rotors above her clicked softly, settling from the maintenance spin. "Captain," one of the ground crew shouted, jogging toward her. "Command just confirmed. Your sortie's been moved up by 2 hours." Riley narrowed her eyes. "Why? Intel shift." All they said was classified adjustment. Riley's stomach tightened. Adjustments were rarely good. They meant someone somewhere learned something that everyone else should have known hours ago. She climbed down slowly, boots hitting the ground with purpose. Mark stepped closer. "You okay?" "Fine," she said, though the air felt suddenly heavier. Riley placed her hand on the helicopter's side, feeling the warmth radiating through the armor plates. Whatever was coming, she felt it in her bones. And it had just begun. The hangar swallowed sound the way a cathedral swallowed prayer, every echo stretched, every footstep magnified. Captain Riley Stroud walked in with her helmet tucked under one arm, eyes adjusting instantly to the cooler, shadow-soaked interior. Rows of aircraft sat in disciplined lines, silent giants waiting for orders, their silhouettes broken only by tool carts, scaffolding, and the glow of diagnostic screens. Inside this cavern of steel and humming electronics, Riley felt the shift. Out there, under the sun, she was a pilot, but inside here, she was a surgeon preparing for a life or death operation. She approached Sim Bay 4, where a half-circle pod sat open like the jaw of some mechanical beast. The curved screens inside flickered with blue, green, and amber lights, the HUD systems calibrating. A technician hunched over the console nearby, tapping rapidly as data streamed by. "You're early," the tech muttered without looking up. "My sortie got moved up," Riley replied, setting her helmet down. "Need to run a systems check before they send me back out." The tech groaned but nodded. "Figures. Ever since the recon drones went dark, they've been pushing everyone out faster." Riley paused. Drones went dark. He glanced up, realizing he'd said too much. Just what I heard could be nothing. Sure, nothing. Rarely triggered emergency schedule changes, but she let it go for now. Riley climbed into the simulator pod, settling into the molded seat. The interior wrapped around her like an exoskeleton, the curved screens forming a panoramic cockpit. She strapped in, gloved hands moving automatically over controls that mimicked the real thing with meticulous precision. The technician activated the system, lights dimmed, the pod vibrated with a soft electronic hum. "Simulation loaded," he announced, running low-altitude target acquisition test. Riley exhaled slowly, letting her mind sink into the machine. The artificial desert formed around her, crystal, clear visuals that mirrored the terrain outside the base. The same dunes, same canyons, same brutal sunlight. Even knowing it was fake, her heartbeat picked up. A target icon blinked ahead. She gripped the controls and pushed forward. The simulator responded instantly. The helicopter dove low, just meters above ground. Sand roiled beneath her virtual skids. Warning indicators flashed as she approached rocky outcroppings at speeds most pilots avoided. But Riley didn't hesitate. She threaded the narrow canyon with needle precision, each turn so tight the artificial rotors screamed. Target approaching, the system announced. She saw it, a red, marked vehicle crossing a ridge. Riley locked on. Her finger hovered over the trigger, but the targeting reticle drifted again, just like last week. She gritted her teeth. 2 degrees off. She adjusted manually, compensating for the flaw the engineers insisted they'd fixed. Target locked. The system chimed. She fired. The image exploded in a controlled bloom of digital flame. The technician whistled softly behind her. "You're the only pilot who can hit it with that drift. Which is why it needs fixing." Riley shot back. "The next pilot might not compensate fast enough." He sighed. "I'll file another report." Riley didn't respond. Filing wasn't the issue. Someone higher up wasn't reading or didn't care. The simulation shifted to a darker scenario. Night, zero visibility, hostile fire. As tracers ripped across the screen, Riley moved instinctively, banking left, spinning, cutting throttle, diving beneath radar lines. Sweat dampened her hairline even though the cockpit was cool. The enemy positions flickered on her HUD, unpredictable, shifting. Riley tracked them one by one, tagging each with surgical accuracy. She neutralized them with the cold efficiency of someone who'd learned the cost of hesitation. Simulation complete, the system announced. Riley opened her eyes. She hadn't realized she'd closed them. The pod doors lifted slowly, releasing her back into the dim hangar. The technician looked at her like she was some rare creature he still couldn't classify. Command doesn't tell us anything, but if they're sending you out early, whatever's happening isn't small. Riley unstrapped and stepped out. Give me the logs. He printed them, handing over a thick sheet of diagnostics. Riley scanned them. Sensor drift, heat bleed from the left targeting array, minor power fluctuation, minor issues, until they became deadly ones. She folded the logs. I want these corrected before wheels up. We'll try, the tech said. But they're rushing everyone. We're drowning in orders right now. Riley's jaw tightened. She understood pressure. She lived in it. But someone somewhere had changed the tempo of the entire base. And that wasn't an accident. As she headed toward the hangar exit, she glanced back once more at the simulator pod, its screen still flickering with the ghost of battle. Something was coming, something bigger than any adjustment, and Riley knew, whether command said it or not, that she would be right in the center of it. The sun sank low across the airbase, staining the sky in deep oranges and bruised purples as Captain Riley Stroud walked back toward her helicopter. The day had shifted in a way she couldn't quite name. Too many whispers, too many rushed orders, too many people pretending everything was normal. Nothing was normal, and as she approached the flight line, she saw Lieutenant Mark Rayner standing beside her bird, arms crossed, jaw tight, expression brewing with something between frustration and disbelief. Great, she thought. The last thing she needed was a fresh officer with emotions. He spotted her and strode forward. Captain Stroud, we need to talk. His tone was clipped, official, but personal enough to spark irritation. She stopped a few feet from him, helmet dangling at her side. Make it quick, Riley said. I have a briefing in 20. Mark exhaled sharply. You already know they bumped our sortie time, but now they're making additional changes. They want me flying lead. Riley blinked once. Slowly, that was new, and you have a problem with that, she asked. He hesitated. I do if the people who've been here longer aren't being given proper context. Something's off about the intel they're giving us. Riley narrowed her eyes. So he felt it too. Good. She wasn't imagining things, but she kept her expression neutral. Why tell me? Shouldn't you be taking it up with command? I tried. Mark rubbed the back of his neck, clearly agitated. They brushed me off, said I didn't need details to do my job. Riley snorted. Welcome to military aviation. That's not how this is supposed to work. He snapped. Pilots don't fly blind, not on missions like this. His tone cracked slightly toward real anger. Riley studied him carefully. He wasn't arrogant today. He wasn't posturing. He was genuinely worried. But she had seen this before. Listen, Lieutenant. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Command will tell us only what they think we can handle. That's the way it's always been. That doesn't make it right. No, she agreed quietly, it doesn't. A long silence stretched between them, broken only by the distant buzz of generators and the metallic clatter of tools from a nearby maintenance crew. Finally, Mark spoke. I know you're the better pilot. Riley raised a brow. He held her gaze. Don't pretend you don't know that. Everyone on this base knows it. You're more experienced. You handle the Apache like it's alive, and half the unit worships the ground you walk on. You should be lead. Riley looked away, jaw tightening. People never understood. Being the best didn't always put you on top. Sometimes it just made you a threat. Look. Mark continued, softer now. I'm trying to figure this out. They've been running quiet meetings with intelligence officers all day. I saw a team I've never seen before coming out of operations. No patches, no IDs. Something's going on, and we're being sent out first. Riley's gaze snapped back to him. She stepped even closer, her voice low and sharp. "Are you telling me this because you want me to challenge the chain of command, or because you're scared of leading something you shouldn't be leading?" Mark's nostrils flared. Both. At least he was honest. Before Riley could respond, a gust of hot wind whipped across the runway, rattling the ammunition belt hanging from the weapons compartment. It jingled like an omen, metallic, cold warning. Behind them, two crew chiefs walked past, their conversation hushed. One kept glancing at her helicopter, then at the operations building, as if expecting something, or someone to appear. Riley finally spoke. "What do you want me to do, Lieutenant? Overrule orders? March into command and demand answers? That's not how this place works." "No," Mark said, "but you can push back. They listen to you more than you think." She almost laughed. "You're wrong. They tolerate me. That's different from ignoring you." She paused, surprised at the sincerity in his voice. For the first time since meeting him, Mark Rayner didn't sound like a clean-cut academy officer with shiny boots and perfect posture. He sounded like a soldier who understood fear. Riley sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "Okay, I'll look into it, but don't expect miracles." Mark nodded, visibly relieved. "Thank you, but listen carefully," she added, stepping close enough that he stiffened. "When we go out there, you follow my lead, no matter what the paperwork says. If something feels wrong, if the intel is bad, if the situation changes even slightly, you do not play hero. You listen to me." Mark swallowed. "Understood. Good." The sky darkened as they stood there, the shadows of the rotor blades stretching like long, skeletal fingers across the concrete. Something was coming. Riley felt it in the vibrating air, in the shift of the crew's voices, in the tension gathering along the horizon like a storm. And whatever it was, they wouldn't be ready.